Okay, I'd like to call to order the 1 p.m. meeting of the Southampton Town Trustees regular meeting. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of
to
the United States
of America,
and to
to
the
the
republic
republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So will the Secretary Treasurer please call the roll?
President Eric Schultz,
Present.
Secretary Treasurer Scott M. Horowitz, hello, I am here. Trustee Ed J. Warner Jr.,
present.
Trustee William Pell IV,
I'm sitting here present.
Trustee Ann Welker.
Here.
Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Very good. Okay, so the next trustee meeting work session is on October 18th, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. And the next regularly scheduled meeting is on October 18th, 2021 at 1 p.m. We have a minute package to accept the special meeting of September 24th, 2021 at 10 a.m. Have a motion on that?
Second,
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Scott made the motion.
I
Bill
second it.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Communications, discussions. We'll put the discussions off if we have any to public hearings. Open up the public hearing for 65 Cliff Drive LLC, 65 Cliff Drive, Noyak, New York.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Some distressing news today is that I had communicated with the applicant to let me know what's going on, and she chose to notify Sean, which is okay, but then Sean notified us that she's requesting an adjournment. We discussed some of this in executive session, and I think the time has come where action is going to have to be taken. So I'm suggesting that we move ahead with granting a permit for this project at the next regularly scheduled meeting, and then setting a time limit on when it has to be done and issue the permit. That's my.
Mr. President, do we have enough
Yes.
information to make a decision at the next meeting to adopt or deny this permit?
Yes, we have a permit that was applied for a low sill bulkhead. The DEC suggested a higher bulkhead, but this will we'll put the ball in their court, so to speak. You know,
Okay.
that they're going to be issued a permit. If they choose in the next 2 weeks to come in with something that the DEC is going to accept or modify, then that's up to them. But this has gone on long enough. It's a violation. The bulkhead was taken out unbeknownst to us by the actions of the environmentalists of the town of Southampton, who deliberately went into our permitted area and had a bulkhead removed. And we're trying to remedy that, and it's going to be done. I'm sick of carrying this on much further. That's my recommendation. How's the rest of the board feel about it?
I agree with you 100%. Eric, I also would like to know a time frame when they're gonna start doing the work down there. If they don't put the low sill bulkhead in a matter of time, they get a violation for that.
Yes.
It might causing more damage. I mean, they can put it. They can actually put this off for 5 years. They keep
Right.
on renewing the permit, but it should be a time spot, a time limit.
Right.
How often? I mean, how long it's going to take to have it installed?
Well, yes, because technically they're in violation of the trustee ordinances already anyway for allowing silts and sediments to enter the water column. So in the next 2 weeks, we can talk amongst ourselves and come up with some sort of consensus on what the time limit's going to be.
Okay, I'm fine with it then, as long as it's a time limit.
How do you feel about it, Scott?
Yeah, I think enough is enough. I think we've adjourned this enough. I know that there was a problem with the surveyors, but I think they've had enough time. And I think that a low sill bulkhead is a sensible way to remedy the conditions there and still have a thriving wetland as well, and take care of the adverse effects that have impacted that waterway. I think
Well,
it's,
it was told to us at the last meeting that the surveyor was down there and collecting data, and any discussion on it should be imminent. Now we're on another 2 weeks, and it's another delay. So I think we should move on it. Ed, how you feel?
I think if we have the proper material to do a good review over it, which it seems like we do, I said that something should be placed there, whether it's a low sill bulkhead or even a standard bulkhead, as long as it stops that material, which is going to, in perpetuity, just keep falling into that canal, because there's been no revegetation. It is a higher elevation than the canal, so something has to be done before that whole entire canal is necked off. And at that point, the water quality will degrade, and there's going to be other issues down there. So I think we should move forward with an action on our next meeting.
Okay. And in conjunction with that, there should be a letter going to the Conservation Board to have them amend the covenants and restrictions. I don't think that the applicant needs to be involved in this since until they file it, but the Conservation Board has to amend that permit. And it's since it was issued in error, I think it's up to them to rectify the situation. Okay.
Correct.
also,
So,
Eric,
Ann, how do you feel about this?
Well, I'm just questioning the how things roll out here. So we issue a permit, they can take action immediately, or
No,
just
I said
sketch
we're
that.
going to have a time limit on when they that they have to remedy the situation by actually building the thing.
Okay,
That's all.
all right, that's
So
what I
we
was.
talk
unclear.
amongst ourselves and figure out what's the most the best course of action to take as far as that is, the length of time.
Eric, for procedure wise, you're closing the public hearing, correct?
Yes, we're going to close the public hearing.
Okay, and you're gonna leave it open for 2 weeks for plan submittal? Written down?
Well, we have plans submitted already, remember? They're
Right.
the one, then when we had the DEC come down, the DEC said that they wanted to have some additional input on that. We felt that coordinating it would move this project along faster, but it clearly hasn't.
Okay,
So therefore, somebody's going to have to do something, and we're going to do something.
so just for written notice then?
Yes.
Okay,
right, the applicant was given every opportunity for the benefit of collaboration and coordination in the best interest of them getting a good project
Right.
and having the best resolution for the environment, being mindful of the fact we do care about having thriving wetlands, but we also don't want siltation and erosion creating problems in our waterways. So you find solutions. So
It's not the case of a new bulkhead. It was an adequately functioning bulkhead at the time. It was made to be removed by actions of the chief environmental analyst.
clearly
And,
functioning.
Right.
so Eric, you
And-
made a recommendation, you're gonna make a motion then?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we close the public. Well, wait a minute. We haven't heard from the public yet. This hearing is still open. So
Gotcha.
comments from anyone else, from the applicant, if they've been watching this, or the public? Is there any comments from the applicant? Okay. Any comments from the public? Is anybody on who wishes to speak? Charles, you have anybody?
I'm bringing them in now.
Oh, okay. And bear in mind, it doesn't have to be a low sill bulkhead. They've submitted a plan. We get plans all the time that we modify. If we feel that it should be 2 inches or 3 inches higher, then, then we modify it at that time. We'll make other conditions that are attached to it.
Ms. Brody is first.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you to the trustees for all your work on this. would you please explain to me what the incentive is for them to follow through with the bulkhead? Are there any consequences to not doing it?
Well, yes, as you probably heard, the board wants to put a time limit on when they have to start work on it. Otherwise, then they would be in violation of the permit, and then they would, would be in justice court.
And how about the fact that they've already put in this pool and they have a building permit and they're going to go ahead and this is not going to be taken care of? I can't understand why they would, without monetary violations, I can't understand what incentive they have to follow through.
Well, it depends on what the time limit is, and it'll be rather short. But if they don't start construction on it and don't follow through, then they'd be in violation, and any permits would be held up on them.
So just one other question, and then I'll give up my time. There are elections coming up in November for trustees as well as other members of the community. If in fact you do this with a permit and a time limit, does it mean that a new board or other members of the board have to utilize whatever this board suggests? If you put a time limit of 6 months or 6 weeks, and there's a new board or new members of the board in November, or as of January 1st, when Mr. Schultz, I know you're retiring, does the board have to follow through with it?
They could then apply for an extension, and the board could theoretically give them an extension or change things.
Okay, thank you very much. I know how hard you all worked on this. It's just unbelievable.
Very frustrating on all parts. Anybody else?
Tiffany Gavin, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Tiffany.
Yes.
How are you? Hi, guys.
Good.
Thank you again for your time. So Mr. Schultz, just picking up on something you just said, if they have the opportunity to reverse or delay what you're about to set in motion, again, it puts back on 65 Cliff. They have no impetus to react. They've had no violation, no penalties. There has been nothing that has been forced on them. This is what's been forced on us. We cannot get out. We have no water. We are living with the consequences of their actions. They clearly have no sense of urgency to remediate a problem. Marty Shea orchestrated this problem, but they did the work. This is the water that we're left with. As this property continues to erode, it's unearthing cinder blocks, bricks, glass, porcelain, and this was September 19th. We cannot safely navigate out of the once tidal canal. Now what's happening, we have to walk through, and what we step on is dangerous. We are now at probably 3 feet high of this land that has fallen into this canal. It's continuing to erode. While we respect and understand that they're saying that the shoal has not been impacted, it for sure has been impacted. And they're not being forced to not only dredge their area immediately, but they're being told that they don't have to touch that shoal. And now that's going to be the responsibility of the people that care to live here and care to bring back the thriving environment. We used to fish and crab, and we've said the same things over and over. I'm not really sure what 65 Cliff LLC is doing, but they shouldn't really be actively developing in a town. They shouldn't have this luxury of destroying an area without any consequence. Marty Shea should be fired for orchestrating this. He solicits private citizens to come out and speak against us. He orchestrates dumping of sand piles, in my view, He's just a fundamentally bad person for Southampton. He continually gets in the way of a remediation that needs to happen. As Mr. Werner just said, and he said it so much better than I could say it, it's going to choke off this whole water. And I don't really understand the value in that.
Well, there's nothing
So-
saying that we can't require immediate remediation efforts of a different type in the interim, and then a plan on when the bulkhead would have to be started to be constructed. You know, such
So-
as biologs or something like that immediately.
The
Upon
problem
issue
with
of-
those, but the problem with those logs, it's a corner. The water comes in and it hits
No, I know that, but
corner.
that's, I'm talking about a
Oh, it's
temporary thing until they get the bulkhead in.
Would that give them a delay tactic? Like we're
No.
containing the problem? Okay, so there would be
No,
the
no,
second
bulk-
tactic.
to be separate. Right.
So back in November, Aram of First Coastal, back in November, it was 160 cubic yards. He did fiber core samples. If we go back to -1, we would have been at 160 cubic yards then. The longer these people continue to delay a remediation, it's only making it worse for themselves. So
Right.
it goes back onto what Mr. Pell is saying, about Mr. Warner saying, what you're saying, Mrs. Brody, everybody's saying the same things. If something's not lining up, something fishy is happening. It
Well,
looks
you know, we thought that having the DEC involved and having them weigh in would speed up the process. But now with this further now adjournment, it's showing us, you know, that that's just not going to work. We have to go to Plan B. That's all.
Right.
We would
Well,
try and
it would have
move
sped up the process if they would have actively
Should've.
collaborated as they, showed some good faith in doing early on in the procedure. But like anything else, you have to follow through. Okay,
Right.
and there's no follow through. So, therein lies your issue. So,
well, how do we get in front of the problem that another board could not see the symbiosis and the value of thriving wetlands and flowing water? What if they disagree and they prefer to harm the environment, unlike you guys, and
But
they
we-
don't want this to be remediated? How do we stop that board from delaying or reversing what you guys have worked so hard to help this environment and this tidal navigable canal that once flowed that's now choked off? How do we stop
Well,
that?
But that would open it up for a taxpayer suit against the new board, and which would be, I mean, in your favor, because in my opinion, because this board has deliberated quite a bit on this and done site visits and everything, and came to this conclusion as to what the best remedy of it is. And then if you had another board that was just arbitrarily saying that they want something else, it wouldn't stand up, I wouldn't think, as good.
Okay, again, it's to Mr. Horowitz's credit that he got involved when he did. Ms. Welker denied us meeting us or having anything to do with getting this into a mediation channel. So again, Mr. Horowitz, thank you for bringing it to Mr. Schultz, Mr. Pell, and Mr. Werner, because we really would have no water here if it just stopped at Ann Welker shutting us down. So we really
All right,
appreciate
so-
it.
All right, so this is where the board is standing right now. So I'm going to introduce, if there's nobody else to speak. Is there anybody else to speak?
There's one more person.
Okay, can we let that person go on?
Joe, you have to put your video on.
I know, I'm working on it. I just figured it out before. Anyway, this is Agina. My video is still not working. But I got it a couple minutes ago and it's not starting again. So, I have the highest respect for the board. I have the highest respect for all of you, as well as Marty, but there is a really major disconnect between protocol that we generally are supposed to be following, and the rules and policies and procedures that we clearly know were violated. So I understand, elections are coming up, and so these homeowners want to know what kind of guarantee do they have coming up in the future, that the board is going to have the power to be able to act on this and either send them to justice or file a lawsuit, or like I typed a little while ago, possibly force the applicant's other permits to be void because they did not follow their special condition of their conservation board permit, requiring the applicant to actually have all of the other permits necessary. Now, a year and a half, 2 years ago, I actually emailed Marty, brought this to his attention, that he had an out. He could have at that time, knowing that trustees' permits were required, he could have outed himself by pulling the conservation board wetland permit. I also tried to have the zoning board stalled as well. So basically the applicant at this point has no incentive of following through unless either A, they're going to be in court, or B, it's going to cost them money, i.e. violations and or fines. Because they're happy. They have a pool permit, they have a house permit, and as far as the building department is concerned, they and the conservation board, they're allowed to work. So unless you pull that ability for them to build that house and follow through and finish that pool, I hate, this is heartbreaking to see the power of this board being compromised. And why do we have to all follow the rules and this particular person doesn't? I would be forcing the contractor, this marine contractor, whoever it was, do we even know who it was? I would be pulling his licenses. I would be complaining to Suffolk County Department of Consumer Affairs in Hopewell. I would have these people in justice court and answering to a Bay Constable's fine, and having them answer to a judge in a separate violation conference with, the Supreme Court. And I know the town board, this board does not have the power to hire, well, they have the power, but they don't have the money to hire their own attorney to sue this applicant, which is what really should have been done from the beginning. And now we're 2.5 years later, almost, and we got nowhere because there's no guarantee forcing these people to act.
Well, the violation is not off the table yet.
Oh, I would reenact that thing and I would have them in court and they would be answering to a judge.
Well, we just didn't have enough time to discuss the whole picture with the rest of the board. There's a lot of other issues that we have to face today.
Right. But this, I'm glad it is coming to this because now, not that I'm glad it's coming to it, but this did need to happen for your toes are being basically stepped on, and they have been being stepped on, and there honestly is no excuse. This is not like this is the first bulkhead reconstruction or removal project that has gone before this board and the conservation board, and we were very, very careful to do it exactly on procedure by an engineer and designed properly. So there's, he's not on here to answer for himself, but I have, made my opinion known to Mr. Shea that what he did was wrong. And he really should pull that environmental approval and force this client to act. And building department. I tried to talk to Dennis. He won't pull it either. He won't pull the building permit.
Well, this is a topic for discussion with the supervisor tomorrow when we have our meeting with him anyway, too.
Right. And the town attorney's office, because the town attorneys for the trustees and the town attorney for the conservation board need to have a powwow and decide at the best interest for town of Southampton is to pull that permit and revoke it
I've had
till further
discussions.
notice.
I've had discussions with the head of the conservation, the president of the conservation board, and we're basically on the same page.
Absolutely.
And
because
I've tried
absolutely.
to have meetings with the conservation board attorney, but nobody ever seems to be around over and over again.
And there are other examples of this going on, and I'm being alerted to that are in process. They need to cease
Yeah,
and
well,
desist
stay
that activity immediately,
Absolutely.
tuned for the
Absolutely.
next public hearing.
immediately.
Stay on for the next public
Stop it.
hearing.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. Thanks, guys.
Oh, all right.
Thank you. Thanks,
Okay.
Gina.
Bye.
Thank you, Gina.
No problem. Bye.
Okay, so if there's no one
There's
else.
There's one more.
Oh, okay.
Joan?
Yeah, hello?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's Joe Velarde, 53 Cliff Drive. I'm not going to rehash everything that's said, but I'm just respectfully requesting that a very short time frame be allotted to the owners of 65 to put the bulkhead in. Years have gone by, damage is being done at the back of the creek that we know they're not going to be responsible for, but that continues to grow. The shoal on the opposite side is growing fast, and they're not going to be responsible to fix that. So time is of the essence, not to mention, we're very worried about the election coming up, but that's, I can also state that when I got my permits to do the bulkhead, it only took me about 2 months to get a bulkhead guy in there to do it. And that was Seascape Marine, as well as our neighbor who I monitored, took them only a couple months also. So I don't really see why a long time frame is necessary. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay.
and one more, George.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I was on the board meeting on September 20th. I've voiced a concern in relation to a bridge across Davis Creek.
This,
Oh, yeah, but that's
isn't-
not part of this. This is, we can talk to you in open session, okay?
Oh,
Just-
okay, we're not there
just
yet.
hang
Sorry
on.
for that.
This is strictly a public hearing for a certain issue.
65 Cliff Drive.
Okay. Are you going to do this later on, or when will that happen?
Yeah, it depends on how much this next public hearing is going to take, and then it'll be next.
Okay, I'll wait.
Public session.
I'll stand by. Thank you.
Okay, stand by. Thanks. Okay. Anybody else on Cliff Drive?
That's it.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we close the public hearing and accept and keep it open for a comment period for 2 weeks, and make the motion. Do I have a second? Ed, second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, let me get my agenda up here again. Okay. Next public hearing, notice of public hearing for Pamela Serla, 7 Millstone Lane, North Sea, New York. Tax map 901-110-2-18 on a man-made dug canal off of Bullhead Bay. Is there anyone here representing the applicant?
This is a notice of public hearing.
It's just a notice
Just
setting
a
the
note.
public hearing.
It's just a note.
Oh, sorry, I read it wrong.
I am
Okay.
still on if you need me for anything, okay?
We're just
Hey,
setting a
Eric?
date.
Yeah,
Eric?
we're gonna hold the public, make a motion to hold the public hearing.
Hey,
Yep.
before we do that, Eric,
Yeah.
I'd like to withdraw this public hearing. Because the neighbors all came to, they all signed an affidavit that they're not, they're in favor of the vote.
So
Yeah,
then-
if I could add too, I did send them certified letters asking them to appear within a certain time frame. But before that even expired, we got the affidavits that were forwarded to Billy. And one of the neighbors actually called Billy as well and said, thank you for considering their views.
Oh, okay, very good.
Actually, it came to my house.
Pardon me
Yeah.
for reading it wrong. I don't have the printed agenda in front of me, and I'm reading it with the iPhone. It's so small, so I have to move it around. So yes, so it's So Bill would like to, well, we're gonna have to.
So I
Upper
have a
hand.
recommendation.
Yeah,
I'd recommend you open and close the meeting, leaving written comment open for a 2-week period, and then those letters would become part of the record.
okay, that sounds good. But we have to, this is a notice to have the public hearing in the first place. Okay,
Are we scheduling this meeting, Sean? Is that what you're saying?
It can't hurt. I would, at the very least, make these written comments part of the record for this permit. So just make sure that on the record here.
So,
I don't know. There was some assertions that there was some people, that one of the neighbors was objecting to this, and that's why we decided to hold the public hearing so they could have their input. But now we have letters signed by both sides saying that they don't have any problem.
and
So
we
it's-
never scheduled it. It's never been scheduled.
No, never been scheduled. It's just a notice that we're thinking about it.
We were just gonna schedule it. Now he's saying he wants to
Right.
withdraw scheduling of a public hearing based on additional information that came in from the adjoining property owners.
Right, so there's no real reason to have the public hearing.
So
Plus those 2 affidavits will go in the file with this
Okay.
permit.
Correct.
Okay.
would we treat this like any other application?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, so then we don't have to act on that motion.
So you're gonna motion to withdraw. Right?
I make a motion to,
Necessarily, if you don't have
You have to withdraw this notice of,
We never adopted.
Public hearing.
don't
Yeah,
adopt.
never
it,
adopted it.
You don't adopt, it doesn't get a first and a second, it doesn't go anywhere.
yeah, we deny it. Put it to
It
sleep.
doesn't go anywhere if there's no second.
All right, let's have our attorney weigh in on that.
What do you want to do,
Yeah.
Sean?
If you don't want to have it, do a motion to withdraw, second, and vote on it.
Okay, motion to withdraw.
Second.
Okay, Scott seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, just let
Thank
me
you.
add a little quick note to this thing and so you can have a little bit of because I telegraphed it to other people to stay on here. This is a small bulkhead within 2 other bulkheads that needs to be fixed. Now, apparently the house, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, the people wanted either an addition or they were building a house on the lot, and they had to go to the conservation board to get permits to do that. So conservation board, under Mr. Shea's suggestions, established a covenanted, restored, naturally vegetated wetland, non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer extending 20 feet landward from the bulkhead, alongside a newly constructed bulkhead or existing residentially developed property. They then went on to put additional restrictions within the 10-foot that we usually claim, is that the buffer shall be established and maintained, recorded with the county clerk. No storage or overwintering of docks, ramps, floats, boats, watercraft within that vegetated wetlands and non-disturbance fertilization zone is strictly prohibited. So this is another case where, and also an additional, that if any wildlife gets hurt on this bulkhead, they have to go to the Evelyn Alexander Wildlife Rescue Center or an alternate New York State licensed wildlife rehabilitator in the event of wildlife injury or exposure. I think that's a little overreaching, but this is yet another case of Mr. Shea getting into our authority by establishing a no disturbance zone right up to the edge of the bulkhead, where we have clearly a 10-foot regulation because we declare the bulkhead to be 10 foot wide because you have to lay logs and dead men. You have to keep that structure straight. So, which means that in order for them to now, if 10 years or 15 years down, they want to rebuild this bulkhead, that means that they're going to have to go to the conservation board again now and remove this portion of the covenant so they can actually put a new bulkhead in.
And also they can't access the water over that no disturb. It can't walk through it.
Can't walk behind the bulkhead. They
Can't put a dog.
I don't know what, they have a little grassed area where they have a chair or something, from what I recall in the last discussion on this issue. But this is number two. There's a third one coming down the line, and that's just three that we know of. And this warrants a larger discussion about whether we're going to have to, as a last resort, take legal action against the town to stop the Conservation Board and Mr. Shea from imposing all these restrictive covenants in trustee regulated areas. It's a systematic degradation of trustee authority.
They're in violation of chapter 325 of the town code. Is that true or not true, Sean? 325-4, it says applicability and construal of provisions. The chapter shall apply to all regulated lands within the town of Southampton, except for the following: bottom lands and wetlands regulated by the trustees of the freeholders and commonality of the town of Southampton. And the definition of that is this board. Is that true?
Right.
Yeah,
Correct.
right.
What's the problem?
If I could just really quick, I did not handle this client's conservation board wetland permit, but I told them not to sign this covenant because not only are they stepping on trustee realm and referencing any activities regulated by the Board of Town Trustees, but they're actually requiring a covenant on an entirely separate lot. They're not allowed to do that. It's a different lot number, totally different address.
What's
The
the answer
house-
to this board?
What she's trying to say, the house is across the street. There's like a private road between the house and this strip of land between two houses. All it is the access to the water. It's about 20 feet. It's like at the end, it's like 40 feet. At the roadside, it's like 15 feet, 20 feet.
But
It's
this
like
is a good example of someone overstepping their power and bounds as a employee of the town of Southampton.
And look, Scott was on the Conservation Board. I was on the Conservation Board for 20 years. Highly respect the board, but something
Exactly.
has gone terribly wrong.
Terribly
wrong.
amiss.
Right, frankly, I thought that was like the best, one of the best, if not the best board in the town.
Yes. That they
Good
did
wholesome work.
years
Two
ago for
terms
people
there.
who only cared about the environment. You had Gil Foster, Charlie Belt, all those guys that I served with. Harry Ludlow was on there with him. He's been on there a really long time. And they don't get paid the minimal, and they do it out of
stipend.
care.
Well,
And I think it's
isn't
just
it-
been led astray by the bureaucrats.
I had the pleasure of serving at the early days on the Conservation Board with Gil Foster, and he was a wealth of knowledge. Fabulous board.
Yep.
Well, isn't it very similar to what they're trying to do at 8 Bay Lane in Shinnecock Hills? Put CNRs on trustee-owned property
Well,
in
yeah,
order
that's Shinnecock Beach Road.
in order for the applicant to get a pool?
I don't understand how council doesn't say timeout. You're outside
They're
of
using
your
our
jurisdiction.
property as mitigation for their project on their property.
I was in the
That'd be like
audience
me
for
going
that.
to my next door neighbor. I need a piece of property to put a pool. I don't have enough, so I'm going to put my pool on your property. It's not right.
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
It comes down to mutual respect. Okay, when nobody's trying to protect their little turf, but you have to respect that each one of us have our own different jurisdictions and our own concerns, and it's just not being recognized as that systematic destruction of the sovereignty of this board, which, by the way, stands in the way of a lot of development and people trying to cut off your beach access and your right to use the beach and your right to access ponds. And it's a systematic degradation of this board. And what's going to happen in the end is if it does degrade much further, then it's going to give everybody else a leg up to just keep on suing, and you won't have any place to go. You might as well just work and then go home at night, get a sleep, and then go back to work again, because you're not going to be able to get any of the resource anymore.
Yeah, well, segue into the whole conversation and work session about finances and what it is that we can spend money on and what we can't, and what, situations we have moving forward that are going to require a substantial amount of money to deal with legal battles, because we have a fiduciary responsibility that we need to discharge to the people as trustees. And then there's conflicts of interest, we're in a tough situation here,
I've
mutual
seen
respect
something
would help.
I've been on this board for 22 years. I've never seen it as bad as this. Exponentially increasing by the week. There's definitely an underground concerted effort to weaken this board.
Well, you know what, Eric? It's like you've got 12 terms in, I think, and I've got 4 terms in. And in like the first 2 weeks that I got on the board was the town attorney's office coming downstairs saying you need to turn over the checkbooks because there was an action to defund the trustees that looked like it was going to be successful, that we had to battle, and we finally won. But that's how I cut my teeth on this board.
Yeah,
was,
right.
If you recall.
Right. I remember sitting there.
Right. So right out
Yep.
of the gate, they're trying to destroy the trustees 2 seconds after I got there,
And contrast this, though, to Easthampton Town, where the trustees are under siege as far as trying to protect people's rights to use the beach, and the supervisor going to bat for them and saying that they're going to explore
Condemnation.
a condemnation of the beach, okay, in order to keep public access open. There you have a town board that's actively working to help the trustees. And what people don't realize is the trustees have a unique place in this town. If there wasn't trustees here, you wouldn't be able to use that patent, and you wouldn't have gotten us, you would have been paying to fish right now in New York State. We beat back New York State on that. We were the first ones to ban CCA lumber in the town. I mean, in the state and in the country, basically. We went at our own with that successfully. Just, it's an important board. It's like a checks and balance of the town board.
we're, here we are in the same township. Everybody's supposed to be working together to be doing public service and doing what's in the best interest of the environment, and respecting authorities and jurisdiction, not violating their own town codes, according to what I'm reading. It's counterproductive. It's a waste of time, and it's a waste of taxpayer money. And at the end of the day, it shouldn't happen.
I've been a town official since I'm 17 years old. I mean, it's 48 years of being, serving this town. And, it almost makes all the sacrifices and all the hard work come to nothing if this board falls apart. Because I've not seen anything like this in all that time, the assaults on this board. And the question is why? I guess we must be in the way. Something's up.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, from my perspective, I'm here for the mission. I've been here for the mission since I got here.
Yeah.
I don't mind diplomatically working with people to try and find solutions, but there is a time where you have to draw the line. And we're
That
there on many aspects that we've been battling. How long have we all been battling for our environment and for the millions and millions of filtering shellfish and oysters and steamers and meatcocks that has been put in jeopardy by other people that we own and we hold in trust?
Mhm.
It's just not right. Why does everything have to be such a struggle, and why is it so hard?
I don't know.
It's wrong. And
We're in
the
a way.
line has to be drawn, and that's it. All right. Everybody is out here now. We want to be by the waterways, nature, and the beaches. But why is it that we abuse the people that are put in place to preserve and protect it all? Why is that? That's the way I feel.
Yeah, right. That's the central question.
But you know what? Yeah, it just gives me energy to stay further engaged in the mission because I believe in the mission. And I believe without it, it's all going to go bad.
We're in the way, Scott, gentlemen.
Bring it on. We'll battle all.
We're in the way.
We'll battle all day. We can debate all day. No problem. Let's go.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the next thing.
Frustration.
Vented a little bit.
Unnecessary.
Yeah.
Did we complete everything we need to do as far as this public hearing?
Yes, we
James,
decided we weren't
we're
going to
good?
have it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
so let's go to public portion, move on to public portion to hear the other gentleman who had to sit through our frustrating diatribe there.
The bridge.
Maybe he fell asleep.
Mr. Badura,
Yes.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear
Put
me?
your video on.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not that much in charge of it. Somebody else is asking me to do it.
Charles, will turn it on. You're good.
Good afternoon by now, and I'm sorry to hear all the problems. I'm hoping that I'm not part of your problem. I'm hoping that you can help me, basically, or my neighbors. We're in a situation here. We're 4 neighbors. I've been part of the meeting on the 20th. I stated the situation that we have with this bridge going over Cedar Crest, over Davis Creek. I had forwarded information in form of a very detailed description to Mr. Cambridge, and I had this morning just another conversation with my neighbor here. As it turns out, my neighbor has further put more yellow tape on the bridge, trying to close it down, and actually informed my neighbor that we will be receiving a letter at this point that is stating that he has the right to close down the bridge and he can actually block us from having access to it over Davis Creek. And I'm just trying to understand where this lays, where the jurisdiction is, who has the legal authority here at this point, because from what I'm understanding, and this is what I've been told by the police that was here when the neighbor called, that the bridge is in the lands of the trustees, and there was apparently the board has some kind of a power over this.
Well, yes, we have the power to grant a permit for a bridge for the person who actually owns the property. All right, or fronting the creek. Then when it enters our bottom land, then it's under our jurisdiction because they have to put the poles in our bottom. But the permit is associated with the person who is constructing it, that's coming off their property, and that they're paying the tax on. Okay. Now, from what I was looking at this morning on some of the documents there, it's not coming off of your property. You have a right of way.
Correct.
Right. Everybody and the other people have a right of way. And that's more of a private matter. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, but I mean, theoretically, that person could grant a right of way or access or use of that bridge to half the neighborhood if they wanted to, because it's their structure and it's on their property. The only other remedy would be to have another bridge constructed on, well, you don't have another piece of property. You don't have a waterfront piece of property.
Well, one of my neighbors, that is 39 Cedar Crest, is actually currently applying for a bridge.
Right, we're aware of that.
And, we're all 39, 41, 37, and 35. Cedar Crest are all part of the minor subdivision of Janice Morrissey from 1998. And within that, my neighbor, who I just spoke to, informed me the whole idea was that, yes, we have the right to go to Davis Creek, and we wouldn't be able to get the right over the bridge, from what I understand, because it was owned by the trustees, as in the waterway. But it was always, if there isn't a bridge existing, and this is how we bought the property 20 years ago, we've been going over this bridge for 20 years. There's never been an issue until about 3 years ago, when this neighbor, which is 45 Cedar Crest, for the first time closed down the bridge. And then afterwards, never made anything about it. It just disappeared. It was just one of those weird things for that summer. And he just did it again on 9/11 this year. And at this point, the bridge has been taped with tape for last month. And he's installed a camera on the side of the bridge, which, the idea was by the subdivision that everybody that is in this subdivision would always have the possibility of going over a bridge to go over to the other side, because we do have, out of an old deed from 1934, the possibility of walking over the beach parcels, whoever owns them, and we all share them. I mean, this neighbor that is owning the bridge, or not owning the bridge, but he's closing down the bridge, from what I understand, he's not owning it, as far as I was told by the town in Riverhead, by the county offices. And so far, I've made another FOIL in the last month with your office, the trustee's office, and no records of a permit have ever been supplied. Nothing is existing in regards to anybody ever having the permit to build a bridge or repairing it or doing anything. It's for the first time in the process now. But we're all using different people's properties to go to the beach. And we all have that in our deeds. And we're kind of at a loss now. This neighbor is imposing all of a sudden to all of us this kind of restriction, and apparently coming with some lawyer action after 20 years of having a good relationship here and no ever real issues.
But the fact is that it is attached to his property, so it's his structure. And he allows, as far as I can figure out, he allows you to use it by the language in your deeds. I mean, you're not paying any taxes on, are you?
On the bridge?
Right.
No, I have no I have no relationship to the bridge.
Are you paying for any of the upkeep?
Well, I've been helping maintaining it for the last 20 years. I mean, this neighbor is not around here in the wintertime. I live here full year round, and whenever the tides push the boards out, I'm the one who's walking down the creek and collects them and screws them back in, and so we can walk over the bridge. I mean, that's a normal thing. The tides have become a little bit higher than they were when I moved here, but every once in a while the boards push out and I just grab them and I put them back in, and I try to maintain the bridge as good as I can. Apparently at this point there are 2 posts or 4 posts that are apparently rotted out, but I mean, this neighbor has been on that bridge with heavy machinery in the last year or 2, and we're just single people walking over it. And the bridge has no instability or anything. There's no reason for it to be closed down.
Hey, ask your question. Where's your house? Is it right behind the person who has the bridge?
No, that would be. I have this subdivision map here, and I can give you my lot. My lot is the 12-1. The lot that I'm talking about, where the bridge starts, is apparently 11, going across to 18.
Okay. But I don't have that in front of me. Okay, and you wave it too fast.
You want me to bring it?
Oh, you want me to hold it here?
Bring
Okay,
it up.
I'll hold it here. Let me just make sure that
James will bring it up.
Yeah, he's on the street, Bill.
Yeah, he's on the street. What I'm saying is
I'm on the street, and over my property is a right of way for the property that's 12-2 and 13 to get to their houses.
Right.
Mr. Bedore, if I may interject quickly, I think the board is trying to tell you, so they can give you pass and repass over the portions on the board's property. However, majority of this is on private property. So this board can't give you a right to pass somebody else's private property. They're suggesting that this is a matter where you can retain counsel and bring an action in a court to obtain that right using your deed as proof. And a judge would decide on that, not this board.
Yeah, I mean, we can't really get in too much into civil matters because we're using the taxpayers' money to enforce private covenants. Can't do that.
I'm a little bit at a loss when it comes to this being a civil matter when the waters are being owned by the trustee's office and the bridge is within the high water mark of the.
But
of the
accessing the
water.
bridge.
But don't you have to? Okay.
You can walk
Well,
across the water,
anybody-
no problem.
Pardon me?
Anybody at the dock has the right to keep people off his dock. I mean, I'm not advocating what this guy's doing is right, but I'm just trying to say that, the dock was built on that particular piece of property. It's attached to his property. He's paying taxes on, he's being assessed for that dock. So it's essentially his dock. So in any case now, like on any regular dock in the town, can anybody just walk on everybody's dock in town that anybody puts a dock out on? I don't think so, because it's technically their structure. They're basically leasing it from us, leasing the ability to put this across the bay bottom. We could,
Unless you
both
break
that-
down and you're in distress, you would be able to have at that point to be able to access the dock and the bridge or whatever
Right,
and get
right.
help. But that's in extenuating circumstances. But
Right.
I believe on a day-to-day basis, walking down an easement, once you go onto his property, on his bridge, that would be something for a court or a judge to determine by looking at the specifics in your deed.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Unfortunately, these instances come up on a frequent basis when it comes to common driveways, when everybody has to chip in to pave the road and somebody doesn't want to, and there gets to be fights. Anytime you have a common situation, easements, right-of-ways, we know all about easements or on Ocean Beach. We've dealt with it for years as far as what rights we have and what rights, other people have.
But
Or claim to have.
Sean, aren't each one of these deeds written in a specific way? One could be different than the other. And I haven't looked at it, and even if I did, I'm not an attorney. This would be something for the people in question who have issues to hire an attorney and have them give his expertise, correct?
Right, I have recommended that several times. Like I said, the board can't give what it doesn't have. So you can't give a right to pass private property. You can only give a right to pass trustee property. So it seems there is a more complex issue here. I would suggest Mr. Bedore speak with his own counsel and then, take appropriate action from there.
I understand and I respect it, what you're saying, but I mean, the bridge is in trustee's water. It might start out on the property of this neighbor and it might finish, but it's in the water. It's not like other bridges that we have that go up a bluff or something like this that's outside of the high water mark. This is clearly inside of the high water mark, and he's after 20 years basically imposing on us not to go over the bridge.
It's like having a dock. A dock is over our water, over our bay bottom. It's on my property, but you're not allowed to go on it. It's the same thing, but this is a bridge going across.
This sounds like a more complex legal
Yeah,
matter.
it's-
to me. And I think that, if it's something that people are studying and researching, and perhaps, our attorney's researching it, and you have counsel and you're researching it, but I think to just pop on a conversation under public portion and be shooting from the hip on complex legal matters, I just don't believe sensible. I think
Right.
everybody needs to do some homework.
We don't have all the information in front of us.
We're not going to give you permission to go on somebody else's property if we
Can't do
don't
that.
know all the particulars.
We
It's
need
just
to
not
do
gonna
more
happen.
research on this.
Hey, it's just the same as the beach, right? that, you need permission to go, the permit you have to have a permit to go across town property to get to the beach to drive your four-wheel drive, because everybody owns that. Everyone owns down to the high water mark on the ocean front, but we have the easement. But how do you get to the easement? So by going over a town piece of property, by having that sticker, we give them permission to enter that easement. So you now, though, have to go across someone else's property to get to that bridge, something that he technically owns. So I think it's more of a civil matter, and we can't expend taxpayer dollars on civil matters. I've been through this hundreds of times with people asking us to get involved, and it's just not the benefit of a good thing for this trust to get involved in.
So do you have counsel working on this for you at all? Do you have representation?
Quite honestly, this is turning into a very expensive and very arguing process, which nobody wants to. We have a good neighborship here over all this time. For some reason, this neighbor is just thrown a monkey wrench into it.
Yeah.
And it's something that, hiring lawyers to figure this out is going to cost exorbitant amount of money. And I don't know why the neighbor is doing it. I don't know where it's coming from. Our right of way goes to Davis Creek, and the bridge happens to start right there, where you basically can go over the bridge.
Yeah.
And there shouldn't be any reason why this now, after 20 years, changes, and why it gets imposed by one neighbor. That he owns, according to what you're saying, his land, on his land it starts and it finishes, because he has the lot on the other side, the number 18. But I mean, we've been doing this for 20 years. All of a sudden, he's just deciding to close it down.
Happens all over the town. This is not unique. It's changing demographic of people moving to the town and just have not observed the traditional uses, that people have enjoyed out here. And this is happening. I can probably name one in every single hamlet that's going on right now.
But isn't there something that's grandfathered in? I mean, we bought these properties to have.
We don't have the paperwork in front of us. He's coming in for a permit very shortly. When he hands in his permit for to build a new dock, rebuild his dock, he called me twice this morning. I have not returned his call because I've been in the Zoom meeting. Okay, we'll have more information. So we can stay here for another 20 minutes and we can argue with you. Okay, or you can come back when he gets his permit application in, and you can see what he has on his deed.
Billy, it's a different property. It's a different property, different person we're going to looking at.
No, the property, the dock, what he's talking about, the guy's coming in for a new permit for that dock.
Oh, an additional one than the one we were talking about.
Yeah, another, yes.
Oh, okay.
We'll have to have a public hearing on it then.
I don't see how you don't consult with your own counsel and show him all the documentation that you have and see exactly where you stand. That way you're protecting yourself. And if there's some other action that has to happen, I understand it's not palatable. I hear what you're saying, but still to protect what it is that you're trying to do, you certainly should consult with your own counsel.
I think it's cut and dry on their part, so. All right.
All right. Well, appreciate your time. Appreciate your service. I thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else for public portion? Anyone else?
Yes.
This is Andrea Bernard at 334 Little Noyak Path, and my husband's with me, Peter Bernard, 334 Little Noyak Path. Is it our turn now? I want to make sure that we have.
Go ahead.
The floor.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, this is our first time zooming in, so we really are learning a lot, and we really appreciate the work that you do, because it sounds like it's very often a very thankless task. And I apologize in advance if I'm going to be adding to your burden, but you are our trustees. We live on a trustee road, and Ann and I have been corresponding quite a bit over the last couple of months. I've also reached out to a couple of other people in the town So we wanted to just bundle up 3 issues for you. I don't think we're going to get resolution on any of them today, but we want to explain to you 3 very dangerous conditions on our road. And, Anna's aware of all of these, and she's given us a lot of her time, and I'm very appreciative of that. The first one is the actual multiple conditions on the physical road itself, because we're a town road, a trustee road and not a town road, in terms of the surface area, which a lot of it is eroded away. It's very narrow in parts, people speed, there's a lot of construction vehicles, et cetera. So we have a lot of issues with the actual safety of people driving on our road. The other one is that we have no fire hydrants. You probably are aware that we have had 2 house fires where I was here for one of the house fires and the house just burned to the ground. I'm told there was another one that was before my time. One of our neighbors, I'm not sure if he's on right now, he had a house fire a couple of weeks ago. Happily, that one did not turn into the house being leveled. And my husband and I about a year ago drove past a brush fire. And we have no fire hydrants. And we wanted to talk to you about anything that can be done to improve the safety of our street. This is no disrespect to the fire department. They come, they do as best as they can. But because we have no fire hydrants, we feel a lot more at risk. And then the third thing is we have many, many, many dead and dying pitch pines on our road. You know about the pitch pine problem, I'm sure, but we've got several very dangerous trees, some actually leaning towards power lines. So that's sort of the setup, those 3 things. And I just wanted to give my husband to talk a bit more about the road. I'll come back on the water. And then another neighbor who's on the phone is going to talk about the trees.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
How long ago did you buy your house?
2013.
2013, so roughly 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And did the realtor tell you anything about the road when you bought it?
Zero.
But that's
Okay.
not your issue. I just
No.
want to see what we can do today.
Yeah, I know that, but basically you bought what you saw there, okay?
Yeah.
The fire district is, you belong to, I think, Bridgehampton Fire District?
Yes.
That's who you go see about the hydrants. They come to
I'm
us.
sorry.
Bridgehampton.
We've been there, and we have a proposal that we wanted to just raise with the trustees. And because we've had so many conversations with so many people, if we could just find somebody to help work with us on a work plan on each of these things. I understand you're not going to solve our problems today. Multiple people have been to the fire department. They send us to the town sends us to the trustees. The trustees send us to Suffolk County Water Authority. This is a trustee road. We don't link to water, which is something that my husband's going to talk about. We actually kind of, pick up.
I mean, I guess the main question, when we bought our house, we were never notified that this was trustee road. And frankly, if I had known, I probably wouldn't have bought the house. I love the house. I guess I didn't really understand that, but it was never mentioned to us. My main question to you is, our road is narrow. People speed on that tremendously, mostly people from the trade, but then a lot of the residents also speed on it. It's narrow. When we have heavy rains, the side of the road can fall off anywhere between 6 to 8, 10 inches. And if you should be on the side of the road, your car can literally fall off. My main question to you is, because we are taxpayers, because our town road is no longer a dirt road, because we do not lead to a waterway, which was, I guess, something that was outlined in the original charter from the 1800s, why are we a trustee road? Can we become?
Excellent question.
Excellent question.
That's
the main question.
Your road, Little Noyak Path, is that what it was?
Yes, Little Noyak.
We asked the town to take on, I think, 5 roads, Eric?
4 roads.
Right? 4 roads. That was one of them because it does not lead to water. If it leads to water, it's an asset of the trustees that we really need to maintain getting people to the water. That's a liability, that road. They're collecting. You're paying a substantial tax bill to the town. It's not coming to us. We have very small trucks, and in the interest of public safety, we started plowing those roads and putting salt and sand because of.
And we're appreciative. Very appreciative.
We have about $120,000 in what we call a restricted road account, which came from curb cuts over the years, which we very carefully use to mitigate very serious issues and public safety issues. That could be gone in 5 minutes. To my understanding, the study alone to determine what would actually have to be done to achieve the transfer of those roads was in excess of $500,000. Fellow trustees, correct me if I'm wrong.
660,000.
That's
Okay,
it.
I'm not wrong. Okay, just the study. That's not any action. That's just a study. You could do studies till the cows come home. Okay.
Right.
So we as trustees, in the interest of public safety and doing the right thing by the people, we're trying to find a way that we could at least sustain what it is that you have. Why? Because public safety is number one for us. Okay. Number two, got to maintain your property value. You're paying a substantial amount of money, okay, in your tax bill, and you need to maintain that. You know, you rip the muffler out of the car every time you go in and out. I don't think anybody's going to be interested in, you know, in this with potholes and flooding and all these other things. Now, we have been trying to collaborate and come up with a solution with the town supervisor and the town board, so this works for everybody. But that requires, you know, two parties to actively collaborate and find a solution. Now, we thought we had a solution that may have helped some of your problem. Is that correct, Trustee Pell?
Yes. Twice we had it.
We thought we had a solution.
And Sean was
But-
there too. I think
But the
Sean
town
was-
supervisor and the town board decided to move in a 180-degree direction from the solution. And here we are today.
What was the
Okay.
solution that you proposed?
Well, restricted road account should at the very least be sustainable in terms of funding so that we have the manpower and the proper equipment to at least keep things at bay and deal with some of the public safety issues and keep that road open. Had nothing to do with fire hydrants, it's a totally different issue.
Right.
Okay. Our trucks are getting beat to death, okay, with plowing on these roads. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but most of our employees in the marine maintenance department that is working on these roads are part-time employees, and they're bound by civil service to only work 1,040 hours a year, and they're done. And by the way, there's a lot of waterways that have to be attended to, navigation aids and buoys that also are major public safety issues, and we need them for that. So we're battling all these lawsuits to keep the beaches open so people can enjoy them. We're trying to wrestle with Mecox Bay and keep agriculture and commercial fishing thriving. I can go on and on about the burdens that this 5-member historical board has on a literal shoestring budget. Okay. I'm a businessman. You know, I'm used to running a company. That's what I do. Okay. So I can tell you and anybody else in this township, with what we have, we're doing the best that we possibly can. And we could do a heck of a lot better as a township for you and everybody else if people would just work together reasonably and sensibly, as this board has asked time and time again.
Is there anything we can do?
Yeah, you could ask the town supervisor and the town board to please work with the trustees on finding a solution.
I
that's in
did.
the interest of
I had a long conversation with you, and I remember I CC'd you on an email. I never got a response.
We've had several meetings to try and resolve these issues, Scott Horowitz,
Cancel.
with these people, but we have no resolution. Okay, there's no, Trustee Pell and I thought we had a resolution, but we did not. It went kicked into a study, and now we've had several meetings that have been canceled.
Right.
But hey, excuse me, Scott.
Scott and I are
Sure.
supposed to be.
Hey, Scott. They cancel all the meetings, but they want to have a meeting to put us in the basement. Go figure that.
Yeah, that's more important.
So-
They want,
so
they
the-
want to
so the
move.
reality is-
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
The reality is that there's sensible solutions that can happen for all of the above. It's just a matter of what your priorities are. I know what my priorities are, and that's everything that I promised to do when I took this position as trustee. It's like anything else, it takes two people, both parties have to get together. People call me and they want to have meetings. I'm there. I'll go have a meeting and we'll work it out.
Is there, I did have a conversation with, Tommy John Scavone. I don't know if that's the right one, if I need to go to the town supervisor. Is there anything we can do to help? You guys, we understand you're strapped. We understand we're one street. We have our own issues about us. We're here looking for help for somebody
I
to
would-
see.
Listen, I have no phone calls. Okay, go ahead, Eric.
I would suggest that you get as many of your neighbors to get together and go to a town board meeting and confront them once and for all, what you're gonna do to help the
Yes.
trustees. Now, we have a meeting tomorrow with the supervisor. We're going to put it to him. Is that we only have 3 maintenance men to take care of 26,000 acres of bay bottom and all the rest. The other guys, the part-timers, are not getting paid enough. So they found other jobs and they were going to be timed out anyway. So now you have 3 guys to do everything, plow and all the rest, because the highway superintendent does not want to plow the roads. And to give you a little bit of historical aspect of this, those roads were owned by a different trustee board. The trustees are the proprietors who went out of business in the 1880s. And there's a huge question, which we are talking about right now and having investigated, as we probably don't even own those roads in the first place. Okay. Well, back when I was on the planning board in the 90s, a couple of people came up who were developing the hills, and there was these old cartways and paths, and they got the town board to declare them as trustee roads. They were only dirt roads, and the trustees at that time said, "Oh, it's no big deal. They're only dirt roads," and people were driving 4-wheel drives. And now it's burgeoned into this growing neighborhood, and money was collected in order to get permits to build the houses, but it was woefully inadequate. There was no method of getting more money into that fund to do that. And frankly, the trustees are not in the road business. We control the waterways, and it's the town board's responsibility. And the supervisor, and correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, had promised us a couple of $100,000 to be put into the fund in order to just keep this thing going until some resolution was found about either changing the road specifications to take it into the highway system by allowing for country lane specifications, or creating some other highway unit within the town that doesn't have to answer to the town highway superintendent, and basically maintaining these roads. And that's all been withdrawn now.
Trustee
There's
Pell?
no mention of any money at all.
Right. Trustee Pell, that was, I think he asked Sean Cambridge to craft a resolution. It all went nowhere. Okay.
That's the meeting that,
It will
Scott
run out,
covered.
and we cannot allow, when that money runs out, we cannot allow this to destroy the rest of the trustees' budget. When we're forced to be holding the bag on defending everything else that we need to in this town, okay? Somebody has to come and work out these problems in collaboration in the interest of public safety. It is not that difficult. It is a matter of what one's priorities are, okay? It's very clear to me and other people in the town that when certain people find ideas that they feel are their priorities, they can find money and pass resolutions and do whatever it is that they want to do to be successful in that. But when it comes to your public safety and the maintenance of your property value, it's clearly not that important, because it's not that hard a problem to resolve. Okay? And we have a fiduciary responsibility as trustees to take care of all of this. We have had no chief of staff for how long, folks? How many people are in our office? We are working as part of the staff and the maintenance crew and everything else, as opposed to being elected officials that have all these employees at their disposal. We do not. Okay, we're doing the best that we can. We're the glue that's holding this town together. I'd be more than happy to work with anybody on this. They're the ones that you're paying your tax dollars to. And to think that we're going to be able to maintain this on $100,000 period with no way to replenish it sustainably it's not a realistic proposition.
Can I make
I understand. So basically what you're saying is that the only thing we really can do, you want to get rid of the roads for sure.
Well, it's not that easy. You gotta understand something. It's
You
not
just
that
can't
easy.
abandon them.
At the very least, yeah, exactly. If we walk away, then who knows what happens? At the
No,
very
I'm
least,
not saying you're gonna walk away. I'm just saying what your suggestion is that we get our neighbors together and be very vocal at a
Yes.
town board meeting.
Can
Yes.
we call
Yes.
into can we call into tomorrow's town board meeting?
Sure you can. There's public portion just like you have right now.
Yeah.
Okay,
you can
so
do
I will call in and I will get as many people to call in as possible. The other thing is there's some low hanging fruit, like we wanted better patching on the sides of the roads that's worn away. We wanted more better speed signs. We
Right.
wanted to explore a solution of maybe a dry well hydrant that's not a water main hydrant. So we're just looking to you to help us figure out.
Hold
Can
on.
I-
And taking
May I
down
ask
really
you a
dead
question?
trees that are about to fall down. You know, a tree fell down. Like we don't want to be in a situation where anybody gets hurt or
I
that there's
understand.
litigation. A tree fell down 2 weeks ago. Now it missed a car by this much. Somebody was almost killed for one of these dead pines coming down. So which is why we're coming to you. One of them
Right.
fell down on our deck.
Can I-
We're lucky we didn't have a problem, but one fell into the street. So to be passed, you know, we're just trying to figure out who do
Yep.
we have to get.
well, I
To
think
get
that,
attention
May I
on
ask
this,
a
to help
direct
each other.
question, please?
Yes, please.
And this is Jeff Ziegler from Northwest Bath. We have the same issue with our trustee-owned road. There is a town law procedure 200 for homeowners to petition the state highway to take over the road.
Yeah.
However, is the trustees board able to issue a permit to the homeowners to perform capital improvements and O&M on the road while maintaining the liability? That's all we need to know. Do you have the authority to allow us to fix the road? We understand you don't have the funds.
Yeah, my name's Ed Warner,
Sure.
and I work with some of the people on Canoe Place Road and Shinnecock Hills. They have done some curb work, they've done some paving. At, our recommendation, we had the town engineer go down there, look at the area. They're gonna pave it with, they're gonna put underlayment down, then they're gonna put 2 inches of asphalt down, and they're gonna bring it up to some kind of country lane specifications. There are mechanisms by which we can help you. And if you want to contribute money towards a specific road, I mean, I would work in my area in Shinnecock. Ann would be out east. Bill would be in Midline Highway and.
So what is that process?
But it's a
The
process. and I
town
think-
lays out tax law 200 very clearly. These are the steps that have to be taken. The assessment is made on the frontage prorated of the homeowners. There's nothing on the trustees that say, if a community wants to fix their road, do these 10 things. So what is that process?
Well, I think it's having a conversation with, the superintendent of highways is no longer going to be there. He's going to have a new one. But when Billy Masterson was there, he was the superintendent of highways. I met with him. I met with the town engineer, and we would go to one of my area roads where there was some funding, and we would lay out, take down some trees, open up the road a little bit, put underlayment down, and pave it per the engineer's specifications. I did probably 3 of 4 of these projects when I first was a trustee. And what happened was, all of a sudden, all the trade parades started utilizing Canoe Place Road as a shortcut.
So are you
At that
suggesting
point-
that
At that
if
point,
Ann
the
Welker is
residents
our
didn't want it to
trustee,
be fixed.
okay, if Ann Welker is our trustee, are you suggesting that Ann will help coordinate the project being approved at the right levels for us as
I
homeowners?
think,
Jeff, are
I
you
think
on our
that's a
street?
I think that's a
Jeff, are you on our
conversation.
street?
Can
Okay,
I
could we
please
speak?
speak?
I'm out.
Can I-
Sean,
That's a
Sean, could you-
conversation we have to have internally with the town and the town council and the supervisor. They've been giving us nothing but lip service. I've been on this board for 16 years. I've done a lot of road projects, and
Okay.
I've gotten a lot of lip service from these people. Basically, we gotta tighten this up, meet with them, meet with the town engineer, come up with specific standards and specifications for each individual road, and each take that individually.
Yeah.
One of the
What
things
town,
you
what
talk-
town engineer?
Well,
Yeah, we don't-
I work
Oh,
with,
let me
I work
just
with
add-
Walter Bundy.
It's Tom
I work with
Houghton
Mike
is the town
Collins.
engineer.
I mean, I work with these people. They're no longer there. but I want to touch on a couple other things you mentioned, because
Can
I live in Hampton Bays.
Just one
My
second,
father was-
we have one other resident, if she can talk, she's on my
Yeah,
cell
but-
phone, and apologies, she
but
can't get on.
Can I just please talk? You're
course.
talking about, you bought a house on a Trustee Road in the middle of Shinnecock Hill, middle of the woods up there. I remember back in the 70s, the Hampton Bays Fire Department took an initiative to put cisterns up on Dewey Lane and Red Creek Point, because there was no town water up there. There were no fire hydrants. I'm really surprised that the Bridgehampton Fire Department has not taken you up and taken you serious, because, and also your insurance. How can an insurance underwriter give you insurance on a house where there is no availability of water? I mean, I live in Hampton Bays. I live on Carter
It has to
Avenue.
be within 1,000 feet.
And we had a private road here, and then eventually we did have the town put water down there. But I mean,
Because we have a
I don't
volunteer fire,
imagine.
we have a volunteer fire department, they have a system, they come with their pumper trucks, et cetera.
It's
know,
not.
But,
It's not
excuse me, but you're missing a point.
Yes, yes, sir.
You have to go to the fire district, okay? I sat on the fire district board for 5 years
Yeah,
in my district, okay? The fire district owns the volunteer fire department. They
Yes.
collect the money, they buy the fire trucks, they pay Suffolk County Water Authority to hook up the fire hydrants, they pay for the water, what comes out of the hydrants, okay? They can put the wells in, okay? You have to go, it's just like the town board. All your neighbors have to go and push those guys. If you don't push them, they're not gonna do squat for you, okay? And,
Who specifically, I mean, when I'm a
go
resident,
to
and I
the,
just,
yeah, go to the bridge, look it up, it's Bridgehampton Fire District. I gave
Right.
it, I gave the
but do
number
you have
to
a
one of the
name?
other
Do
neighbors.
you have a name?
Not offhand.
Right.
You could-
After the meeting, you
Because
can,
we have called them, our neighbors have called them, and they basically say you have to go to the town. We just get.
No,
one.
you just,
No,
you just-
no.
they just,
problem.
they're just pushing the buck. Go, when you call up,
Everybody.
when you call them up,
Yes. Can we have one, can we just have one of our, I know the history is very, very important.
Can we
but
just
issues-
determine, are the trustees able to issue a permit to homeowners to provide capital improvements and O&M on a road? How do
Sean,
we plead to the trustees to issue that permit?
Sean,
I'm
can
gonna
you
give you a
address
little
that,
bit of
please?
heads up. We're gonna have an executive session after this meeting. I'm going to bring that up because I had a discussion with Ann Welter about this. And it would be, I have an idea and a mechanism that might be able to work, but we're gonna have an executive session after this meeting to discuss that specific topic.
And the specifics of that are, just so I understand the concept.
Well, I mean, I think that we issue bulkhead permits on our property, and if we actually own the road and we have fee title to it, we could do similar things that we can get a group of homeowners together with some kind of a funding source to do sections of the road and bring them up at least to country lane specifications, which is about 33 feet wide, not 50 feet wide and curbing. It would be just a basic, simple road.
Yeah, because we
Hey,
don't want, I appreciate that, because we don't want to change the character of our road.
Yeah.
We're not looking to turn it into middle line highway, obviously.
And it would be cheaper for the homeowners to do it, because then if we did it, we'd have to pay prevailing wage, which would be outrageous.
But
Yes.
I guess the question is why, well, it's
Well,
always a
you're at-
question who has to pay. I understand that, but.
Okay, so let's see.
Either
We're at
way, if it were to become a town road, the tax assessor will levy the cost of the improvement back onto the homeowners according to the apportionment of the frontage owned on the road.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Either way, the
Right.
homeowners bear it.
I think we should let Sean explain, since we worked with Sean on this. Okay, if Sean, for Mr. Ziegler, if you could just please explain what he's asking.
Sure.
I think you have the answer.
I think what you're trying to get at, Mr. Ziegler, Town Law 200 still does apply to you on a private roadway. In fact, most, if not all petitions are homeowners on private roadways petitioning the town to take their roadway into the town highway system. So you certainly could do that with your neighbors. You would need a majority of the frontage to apply to the town board in this type of petition. I can't advise you specifically, but if you were inclined to do that, then you can come to the Board of Trustees and ask for a quitclaim deed, a dedication, or you could ask the town to condemn the road for highway purposes. So Town Law 200 absolutely still applies for you. It's a conversation for you to have with your neighbors, and to weigh in whether you want it to be a small private road or a larger town road. And that's a conversation for you guys to have.
We understand that. We would like to know what the alternative is in keeping it a trustee-owned road, but affecting improvements on it.
Well, the attorney, but part of the alternative to that, I think, was what Trustee Pell and myself worked out initially. And that was having some form of refurbishment of the restricted road fund so that we could have the proper staffing and the proper equipment to at least stem the tide so that you can alleviate a lot of these problems and not be in the situation we're in right now. These complaints have been going on for quite a while. Maybe 3 terms ago, we were not plowing these. We were working with the deputy supervisor on perhaps figuring out hiring an independent contractor, but that got too out of control. So we worked it out where we bought plows and the trucks and we started doing this on our own. But it's hit the point of not being sustainable, okay? And we've been asking them, you are paying a lot of tax money and it is a public safety issue. You need to make it so that we can sustain this because we cannot, okay? You know what? At any point in time, anybody on the town board of the supervisors could call up and say, hey, Scott Horowitz, in the interest of public safety and what you've got going on, how is it that we can help? How? But that's not the case here, okay? We're asking and we're getting no solutions. And a week goes by and a month goes by and a year goes by and it's the same problem. But yet you see a lot of other things go on in the town. We got a litter department now. They pick up litter, okay?
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
can't take care
Filling
of
potholes.
Yeah,
okay, we can't take care of remedying public safety issues, whether or not it's owned by the trustees or whoever. You're paying taxes and you should at least have public safety and you should at least be able to maintain your property value based on that road. We've been trying and trying and trying. And at the same time, we're burning out our employees. They're leaving our employ because 1,040 hours, who can afford to stay on that? And we're killing our trucks and our plows and our sanders, and we're burning through that stuff like you cannot believe, okay? So we're here to try and help you, but you got to say to the town board, you got to work with those people. You got to help them out.
But what if it's a trustee-owned property? Why doesn't the trustee just have a process to issue a permit for capital improvements in O&M?
Yeah, excuse me. The trouble is, the roads what Ed was talking, we have deeds to those roads. The roads where you are living in, we might not even own it. And
That's right.
there's no
So,
deed.
wait.
We're trying to
sorry.
research who owns the roads.
well,
We're
that's
asking
right.
a
I
lawyer
mean,
working on it.
Wait. That's okay. Can I just understand, is Jeff's Road the same legal status as the Little Noyak Path?
Right now it is,
Yes.
yes.
Because
Yeah.
you're calling it a private road, which it sounded to me something different than
That's
a
what they
trustee
call,
road.
that's what they call the trustee roads. They view them as
Thank you.
private roads.
Yeah.
We
Thank
say
you.
they're
Okay.
public, obviously, because as you all alluded to, they're used by the trades, shortcuts,
Right.
and speeding and all this, but they view them as private roads. And we view it as liabilities unless they lead to water. And we'd be more than happy to work with everybody in the interest of public safety, but it has to be sustainable. It's, you can fill a pothole
Right.
today and that's
Right.
great. Rainstorm
Can
next
I
week
give,
and it's over.
can I
let's
give a
see.
little?
Let's
Eric,
just
can I
wait one
give a
second,
little-
because Ed, can you just yield for 1 second? Because I have to leave here for a little bit. I just want to say that this is a watershed moment in the history of the trustees, because this is going to be resolved. We have a title search being done on it. We've reviewed old court cases. Our attorneys are working on it, and I've been working on it, and it's going to be determined once and for all who owns these roads. Once that's done, because all this smoke screen has been going on for so long, we don't own it, you own it, we don't own it. Once and for all, it's going to be decided who actually owns the road. And there's several different processes that can occur once this gets determined. And I would say there's probably within a couple of weeks, there's going to be some action one way or the other to clarify this and get it straightened out. And then we can go from there.
Okay,
Yeah.
can I just one of my neighbors has been really trying to speak.
Sure.
If we could all just give her a chance to speak. Jill, go. I'm sorry. Jill, can you talk?
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
She calls back, Andrea. We can put her on again. Mr. Ziegler, was your question answered the second part of your question. I think perhaps Mr. Cambridge might be able to help with that. Sean, did you want to just address the second part of Mr. Ziegler's question, if he's still here? Not
Any point specifically, or?
I mean,
He-
I don't know.
he was
It
asking.
just-
He was asking if it was possible for the trustees to issue or to enact a process by which homeowners might make improvements on their road, on their trustee road.
I mean, it's possible that you can give them a letter of authorization to, you know, improve in front of his home or something, but we'd really need to know what that improvement is, and what kind of liability goes along with that.
Sure, and
Okay.
we have done it as a trustee.
Yeah,
There's
well,
places in
we allow you to
Shinnecock
do it.
Hills, property owners have paved some of the roads with the guidance of the town engineer and myself. That was my area. So we have done this in the past.
Grant utility easements to go across those roads. So I don't see
Right.
any problem with doing that if we
Okay,
don't.
just hold
This
it,
is the-
Jill. I have Jill
Okay.
again. Thank you.
Hi, can you, hello?
Hello.
Hi, Jill.
Oh, hi, yes, this is Jill Rapp.
Jill's cutting out. I'm
Okay.
sorry, this is very frustrating. She's been
Okay,
trying
so
to get on.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave for a little while, so I will, when the meeting's over, give me a call, and then we'll have our meeting at the executive session.
Okay,
Okay, thanks a lot.
okay.
Can I
Here she
just
is again.
describe?
Here she is again.
Hi. Can you hear me now?
I'll be
Yes.
chairing the meeting.
Yes.
Okay, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
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 Okay, yes, hi, this is Jill Rappaport. I own 427, 421, and 377 Little Noyak Path. 3 properties totaling almost 20 acres. I am on to talk about this pine beetle disease, which we believe started on the street. Those trees have been dead for months, and it's now traveled back into all of our properties. We are the aquifer. We're supposed to be having the best water. We're the environment where we live. If you don't protect these trees and our water, there is no future for us out here. That's why I bought here. That's what the town told me. I reached out to Marty Shea, 9 emails. He said he's reached out to the trustees because we're a trustee road. These trees have never been addressed. They've been dead for months on the street. And now it's all moved back into our properties. And I've had 197 trees, 60-foot pine trees removed so far, with another 70 that died in the last 3 days. And this is a travesty. I'm going to call the media. I'm going to get everyone on this because nobody is doing anything. And you're all about the environment. I appreciate what you're saying, but you need to put your money where your mouth is, and you need to cut down the trees on the street that started this whole thing. And another person almost got killed, missed it. We have pictures. 4 feet, the tree fell in front of his car. You're going to be dealing with death and destruction. People are going to be killed. Someone needs to come out here, see what's going on with this pine beetle disease that's now moved back into all of our properties and has hurt our incomplete environment and our value of our property here. And I'm so sick about hearing how we fell through the cracks. We're a trustee road. So we put our life's investment into something, and just because our street is owned by the trustees and you guys don't have the money or the manpower, what are we supposed to do as homeowners?
Well, I can speak to the beetle issue. It's all over Long Island. Hubbard's Park, there are hundreds and hundreds of acres of trees that the county cut down and just left in the woods. I mean, once a tree is dead, they just basically move on to another tree.
Right,
It's
and that's
way,
why they
it's
were
way,
dead on the
it's,
street first.
it's way beyond what we can handle.
Monitoring, and sorry to interrupt you, but if you were to monitor your street, which you're in charge of, you would have seen that these trees died first on the street and moved back. And the whole thing with the pine beetle disease is to cut them down before they travel. It is out of control here.
We're looking
ma'am,
at probably
ma'am.
$600 or $700 per tree.
Hey, ma'am.
We don't have a budget for any of that, and it's way beyond our financial capacity.
And let Bill
Friends of
speak.
mine on property in Red.
Me as a homeowner, I'm supposed to spend $300,000 cutting down trees that started on the street.
Well,
Hey,
friends,
ma'am.
I mean,
Ma'am.
You're going to have every neighbor on this street
Hey, ma'am.
hiring an
It's-
attorney.
Ma'am.
It's beyond
Ma'am.
what we can do. I'm telling you right now, and I hate to
Hey,
be a
ma'am.
naysayer, but I've
Yeah,
seen.
let me talk for a second,
Hey,
please.
Phil, let
Sure,
it Bill
Bill.
speak.
Ma'am, how long have you lived there?
1996, and the problem started last year.
All right, you
I
lived
didn't
there a
have
length
the
of time.
trees till last year.
Ma'am,
And
let me
Tommy's,
talk.
Tommy,
Ma'am, let me talk. Okay? I'll let you talk. I listened for you. You yelled at us, did everything. We're here to help you. Okay? You have to change your attitude a little bit.
No,
Because
I'm not going to change my attitude because I have 90.
Ma'am, let me talk. Okay? We're here to help you. One thing, we're
Oh,
not quite
really?
sure if
How are
we
you
own
here
the
to
road.
help us? Tell me how you're here to help us.
If you stay quiet for a minute, maybe you'll learn something.
I'd love to learn. How are you helping us?
You're going to be quiet?
Yep.
Listen what Scott has been saying, what Eric's been saying for the last 25 minutes, okay? You went off on a rage, tore us apart, okay? We're here to help you, okay? If you're going to treat us like that, I have no interest in helping you right now. Okay, your other neighbors are very fine. They were very polite, okay? They know what they were talking about, okay? Maybe you should rephrase your phrase. So I'm not going to stand here and take it. We have a lot of other things to discuss.
Okay.
I don't want to be rude to you.
I'm not going to say a word. Tell me how you're here to help us.
Listen to us. Listen to Scott, okay? He's very knowledgeable on the roads. Listen to Ed, okay? Listen to Eric. We have all your neighbors. We're trying to help you, okay? So just change your attitude. So we'll help you, okay? Thank you.
So
Okay.
you've now heard us and you've given us a tremendous amount of time, and I really appreciate it. But we have three dangerous issues. You know, we're lucky people have not been killed. The McMcEnany Hearst house burned to the ground. They were in it. There's a neighbor who I'm not sure if he's on First Street. His house caught on fire a couple of weeks ago. Thank goodness the fire department got there, kept it to the roof. So we have fire issues, we have road issues, and we have tree issues. I hear a lot of history and a lot of frustration on the part of the trustees, and I feel your pain. What I'm wondering is, given where we are now, how do we partner with you? How do we impact the town? How do we impact anything? Because, I'm interested personally in figuring out a work plan, a project plan. What do you do first? It's confusing because there's a lot of stuff.
Excuse me, hold on, time out, time out.
Yep.
This is Secretary Treasurer Horowitz talking now.
Perfect, thank you, Scott.
I'm chairing this meeting. The president left. I'm chairing this meeting. Okay, and I run things like a drill sergeant. So please, one person talking at a time. I think what needs to happen is we need to have a meeting. Okay, I'd be more than happy to sit with all of you and the supervisor or one of the town council members that wants to sit in and try and hammer out how we fix this. Okay, I'll go there in person. I had COVID. I've had vaccines. I'll go there in person. I will do it on Zoom. Right now, we're just going to go around and around, and we're not going to accomplish anything. As Trustee Bell said, I know all these details. I know all of it. I've lived it. I would really have appreciated somebody calling me and saying, you know what, Mr. Horowitz, how do we help you resolve this issue in the interest of public safety and fairness to these people? Okay.
Well, apologies that I called Ann instead of you, because I've been talking to Ann for, on and off for a couple of weeks.
That's her area. And I'm not talking about you as the public, because the supervisor and the town board are well aware of these issues. When Councilman Martell first got elected to the board, one of the first things that he did was meet with myself and go out and meet with homeowners, okay, of these issues to try and figure out how we resolve those issues. Don't quote me, but I think he said something like he would not want to be bounced out of the back of an ambulance on one of these trustee roads. So I think he understood the issue. All right. So in the interest of resolving this, I don't think it's helpful going round and round and people getting upset. I will say I will avail myself to have a meeting with you and the supervisor or a council person to try and find a sensible resolution, whether it's turning it over to a group of homeowners because the roads don't lead to water and they're a liability, whether they're figuring out how the town highway department handles these roads since they're collecting all the tax revenue on this, or whether it's establishing some form of sustainability that works for everybody, okay? I really don't think it's that difficult, all right? It's just a matter of what people's priorities are. So if you could leave all of your information, all of you, with our office, okay? In town hall, all of your information, your phone numbers, your emails, I would be more than happy to coordinate and collaborate with you and try and find a resolution that makes sense. Does that sound fair?
That sounds fabulous. And look, you got our roads plowed. I know you guys are trying. Somebody came out recently and put in some patching. We understand that this is hard and this is complicated, and a lot of it's not under our control or your control. So yes, I will get you my contact information. I know that, we've spoken to you before. I apologize if this got hot and heated. Everybody obviously feels passionately about this, and apologies if I had a tone that was too strong.
Look, I can appreciate people being spirited and passionate about what it is that they're trying to achieve. I'm the same way, okay? And it is frustrating. I am frustrated, okay? When I first got on this board, we were not plowing, okay? We did not have plows and sanders and all of that, okay? Public safety is important, but sustainability is equally as important, okay? Please leave all of your information at our office at Town Hall. James or whoever can get that. James, you're listening. I see that. If you could please have somebody coordinate that information to me. Let's set up a meeting, whether it's in person or on Zoom, with the supervisor, town council person that's involved in this, and let's try and find a sensible resolution. Let's do it that way, please.
Yes, thank you. And is the town council person Tommy John Scavone, or is
I would leave that for the supervisor to decide.
Okay.
Okay, it's a different.
That's his
board.
area.
It's okay. If it's his area, then let it be Tommy John.
Yeah.
And let him get involved, and let's figure out how we get this to work. Okay.
That would be wonderful, because I have spoken with him also. I was just trying, I'm new to this type of situation in terms of the government.
We're gonna go round and round, okay? But when people are collaborating over a specific issue, fire hydrants, here's your procedure. Roadway 200, here's your procedure. Okay, we'll get it hammered out. Leave your names. James will get them to me. We'll figure out when everybody can have a discussion. We'll get it together. We'll do the best we can.
Scott, real quick, can I ask you how much money is left in the road account? About
There's only $100 and some odd $1,000 left
right.
in the road account.
Can
I think it's
financially
98,000,
break that for you guys? $130,000 will get you about 500 feet of road paving and 2 catch basins. At that point, there will be zero money in our road account.
Right, but
so we'll be broke.
But you have
That's
to
what you get for
understand
your
this.
money.
Just time out. Just let's not get confused over here for a second. When we have to replace plows and equipment in the interest of public safety, that's factored in there too. So if you spent it all on paving, now we have no plows and equipment. Okay. People are paying taxes. It's going someplace else. It's not coming here for this purpose. It's very simple for somebody to make a call to the trustees and say, what is it that we can do so that you can best provide public safety on roads and keep people safe on beaches and on waterways? And what is it that we need, and how do we provide it? Because for a giant town like the town of Southampton, for what the trustees actually need to not be under so much pressure, it's a small thing to a giant. But it doesn't happen because it's not certain people's priorities, and it's quite obvious. I've had conversation after conversation with people that told me they were for certain things and they would help work on them, and 2 years go by and nothing happens. Okay. I may have been born at night, but not last night. Enough's enough. Okay.
Yes.
Am I right or am I wrong?
Yes. And I will help you on the roads too, Scott.
I know you will, because you and I went to meetings and you heard the same things that I heard. Okay.
Yeah.
I will say one thing, one bit of information that was given out today was from Trustee Pell about the fire districts and achieving some water up in your area. That's the avenue you have to pursue, whether it's a group of you making a petition or a whole bunch of you meeting with one of the, I don't think they're commissioners, Billy, they're who runs the fire district.
The fire districts, and actually they're their taxes are going to the Bridgehampton Fire District. So
So
they're
that's where
paying,
you want to go.
so
Yep.
they
So-
have to put hydrants or
Cisterns.
shallow wells, they call them.
Right, so
Yeah.
I want to thank you for all of your time. I don't know if there's any other public comments. I want to thank you for giving me this information, and thank you, Scott, for agreeing to partner with us on this. You guys know the ins and outs of the history, you know the ins and outs of the regulations, and I don't. So to me, I never expected you to say on this call, we'll do all these things. What I just was looking for was a way to develop a relationship so I could develop some partners to come up with some work plans and actually also talk to my neighbors about what realistically can be done with what cost at what time frame, because this is a complicated thing, and I know that. We just wanted to tee up the issue. I hope Ann will endorse that this is what I've been trying to do with her, just to figure out what can we do in these different areas. The comprehensive plan sounds fantastic to me, Scott. I will work with James. I'm going to put my information right here in the chat, James, if that's easiest for you. And I have been, trying to organize our neighbors, because I've been trying to explain to them that a lot of this stuff is on them, as well as we're trying to work with the town. And, I will be happy
Listen,
to.
I know
do a
as
meeting
an
and
elected
do year-round.
official in
Yes.
this town, on a board that I believe to be the closest board that there is to the people. That's what I believe, because I believe that Board of Trustees has the heart of the entire town of Southampton in its hands. Okay, the waterways and the beaches. That's what we are, and that's what we do. And I know the problems that I brought to other elected officials respectfully after many people in the community came to me and asked for help and asked for collaboration on solving these problems. And I knew who was there and stood up to provide that help. And I know who did not do what they said they would do and turned their back and found other things that were more priority than that, your public safety, okay? And quite frankly, it's not right, all right? So please leave the information. We'll have another meeting ASAP. I'll have James get right on that. We'll try and get you answers. We will link those people in, because some of it is in their power to solve the problem. Either they can help us solve it, or they can tell us why they can't solve it, and then you'll know where your issues are. Okay?
That is very helpful. Thank you.
I put the email of the town trustees in the chat, so please email your information to that email, please.
Okay.
Right, because what we're going to do is, if we have a session off of that, we will send out, and if you have any other neighbors, and we'll figure out, whether this is an in-person meeting or this is probably going to end up being a Zoom meeting.
I'm happy to
Get
come in
points
person.
together. They can prepare what they have to prepare, and we figure out how government works as it's supposed to work. Too much inefficiency lately.
Mr. Ziegler, of course, you're included in this.
Absolutely. Mr. Ziegler,
Thank
need
you.
your information
Yeah,
as well?
no, happy to come in person.
You'll get that same information, and anybody else. It's not only you folks, there's a lot of other people. And like I said, I went out with Councilman Martell and met in person with people over these issues.
We have another person that
I've
wants
already
to
met
speak.
with Mr. Greiger and the highways. Like, the town has a position that the road should be transferred out of the trustees, then they will assess and do the work. But
we
the
asked
question
them,
is, what will the trustees do in order to permit homeowners to do it without the transfer process?
we will do whatever we can facilitate to make your life as easy as possible, but we will also look to mitigate any liability that we can off of the backs of the trustees, and our council will deal with that. Okay, we're completely capable of facilitating what it is that we need to do. And we did issue statements on many of these roads asking them, please take them over. Historically, they are no longer leading to water. They're not assets per se of the trustees. They're just liabilities at this point in time. And you're paying a tremendous amount of taxes. They should have the responsibility to maintain them in the interest of public safety and everything else. All right. It's just a big, complex issue. We have to solve it. It's been going on too long.
Right.
Okay.
And it
Somebody
keeps
else want to
new
speak on
waves
this?
of people.
Yeah. And
We have
other-
someone else that wants to speak.
Let's let
Jennifer?
this one person, because you do realize, fellow trustees, it's 3:00
yeah.
and we haven't even gotten to
Permits?
applications for permit.
Thank
Let
you
this
very
one
much for
person
all the
speak.
time. I just want to make
Thank
sure you
you.
hear me. Thank you very much for all the time. and for the
Okay.
offer to work with us. Thank you.
Fine.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll solve the
Jennifer
problem.
Dupree.
Who else wants to speak?
It's Jennifer Dupree.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I don't need to really say much because I've heard everything that's been going on in this meeting. And I kind of think I'm going to get the same answers that I've already heard for the past 4 years with this situation. I just wanted you to see where our farm is at and that it might not last much longer. So I'm going to drive around. I've already invested several $1,000s just to try to get our parking lot to where it's usable, because I'm required to provide off-street parking or it's a violation of the farm stand permit. I have pumpkins rotting in my fields. I have fields I've planted several times. Didn't grow anything. I have more trees dying, and this stems from Mecox Bay. It is now closed. It has not gone down nearly enough to provide what needs to be done to drain out. I'm going as fast as I can without making you dizzy. On the far
Don't get
side
a
of our
speeding ticket.
property, our entire fence, which was erected 25 years ago, nowhere near wetlands, is now in wetlands. The fence is rotting, the trees are rotting, the pumpkins are rotting. The bay needs to be dug. I have mud piles everywhere. I can't mow. I'm sure you can hear it. This is the fence. All of this area used to have apple trees. Here's my field of 2 pumpkin plantings of solid weeds that I can't even mow because it's too wet. The creek is now coming up on our property. The creek is higher than I've ever seen it before. And this has been going on for the past 4, 5, 6, 7 years.
This has been going on ever since they failed to reissue the permit for the trustees to manage Mecox Bay.
100%.
What I heard, it's only minutes away. Dead trees, dying trees, more. And there's no point to
What's
replant
minutes
it.
away?
Getting this 10-year permit done.
I've been hearing that for 6 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What is the holdup?
I don't know. You tell me. Actions speak louder than words.
Sean, Cambridge. You have anything to add? Is our permit, have we been told, I've been told this is imminent, our 10-year permit, but yet they keep extending the deadlines to my knowledge. Did they extend out the public comment period on this?
From what I'm aware of, you have James Walker of Inner Science corresponding with the DEC. They've asked for more materials for a complete application. So that's my understanding. I'm not sure if that's true or not. We have to talk to James.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not aware of this being minutes away. I understand people are saying this, but then they keep
away.
Excuse me?
It should be minutes away.
It should be minutes away, but they keep moving the goalposts on us. They keep asking for more information, of which we hired James Walker from InterScience to provide to them everything that they've wanted, and they have not. And this is creating a problem, and it's become even more complex because we were informed by our counsel, Mr. Sean Cambridge, that the emergency authorization that we took this action on that had failed was only good for one opening. And now we're in the process of passing another resolution and asking for them again. Is that correct, Sean? Where'd you go, Sean?
Yep, still here. I'm forwarding you the last communication from DEC to Mr. Walker right now, each of the board members. Yes, I believe after our work session this morning, Trustee Welker is going to reach out to DEC and we can apply for a new emergency authorization.
Right, so they're requesting us now apply for a new emergency authorization, a total additional step and encumbrance up on this failed opening that we just engaged in. The conditions are the same as you're pointing out in your video.
Nothing has changed here.
Correct. So they're requiring us now to get more involved with more paperwork and more bureaucracy. We're going to pass a resolution to act on that immediately, but it's apparently, according to council, going to require the DEC to issue us another EA.
Is that in process now? Because I will make an entire video to send to DEC right now.
Yes, it is in process right now. If you could make that entire video and forward it to our office, we will send that along with this request since that opening had failed. How long did it last?
I will send it directly to DEC, as I do every single time.
Thank you. Can you CC our board on that so we can attach it to our paperwork going there?
And you promise me that this bay will be opened immediately when you receive the emergency authorization and not have us told it's going to be waiting until the time is right. Because obviously waiting till the time is right is not right.
But it won't drain unless we got the right weather conditions.
I think we're beyond that, considering we're in an emergency situation here. I'm at the point where I can't farm here anymore.
But if the closure fails, in other words, if they open it and it fails immediately, that's not going to be helpful either.
Then something needs to be figured out. There is no way that the bay is where it needs to be. There is no way that it is not full enough to drain. As I'm aware, the salinity level isn't where it needs to be. Nor the level.
Everything is off.
So then what's the problem?
The wind's in the ocean. The ocean is rough. The wind is going to be northeast for the whole week, and then coming easterly, a pretty significant storm on Friday and Saturday. So if we open it, it won't run for more than 5 minutes because the ocean will be too rough and the bay isn't high enough to punch a hole through the sill and keep it running. I took a ride down there yesterday to look at the height of the bay.
For this, I'm really at a loss of words because now I'm at a high point here in our farm, at a high point, and it's sitting water.
You're battling the North Atlantic. It's like if it's going to shut right down. Hey, look, I don't know if the board wants to try it. If your board wants to try and open it, if you want to try and open it and it fails, try and open it. What is the contractor say?
For years, this bay has been managed properly. I would like it to return to.
Try and open it.
That's right, because we haven't been given our 10-year permit, which would allow us each winter to go in there and harvest all the sand that's clogging up the inner part of the channel that allows the bay to flush properly.
Right.
The DEC created this problem, not us.
Right. Part of this problem, in my view, is that when we cut through.
That's the way you feel, but I believe wow.
I think part of the problem why this failed is that when we cut that channel, obviously through the delta on the inner part of the bay, we didn't remove the material, right? We side cast it.
Right. They wouldn't let it. They
wouldn't let us remove the material, so we side cast it. So it's all still there.
I'm good on hearing all the explanations because I've heard them 100 times. I think the issue is the two agencies need to work together, not against each other. Just a suggestion. That's all
what else?
Have to say.
What else is it you suggest that we do?
Excuse me. Why don't you tell the DEC to work with us? We've bent over backwards. I've been sitting here for 7 years watching us try to get permits, doing everything we can. Okay, I want to open that. I don't even think we need a DEC permit. If it was up to me, I would open it on my own.
I've heard that several times from several of your members, but no one's ever acted on it.
If we had,
Again, I
if
go
we
back
have,
to actions speak louder than words.
Well, we have to.
if we,
You know
if
what?
we
You're
had,
putting us in an untenable position. You're asking us to battle our own town attorney's office. You're asking us to battle Mother Nature in the North Atlantic. You're asking for things that are, and you're holding people responsible for things that, you know, in a reasonable basis is very difficult. We could try and go down there and open that up. It could fail right away, and it'll be our fault again, right?
I'm only asking you to fix the problem that was created 5 years ago. Get the management plan done, work with DEC, get it done so it can be fixed.
The management plan was done a long time ago, and we gave them that management plan a long time ago. They did not act as they promised. You were involved in adopting that management plan. You were front and center as one of the main stakeholders in that. We provided them with what they wanted. Did they uphold their end of the deal?
Scott,
All
we
I
were
know
at the,
is from hearsay around here was that plan was pulled from the DEC and then resubmitted. So I don't know
That
what.
was the plan. No, that was the plan that your father worked on, and Mr. McGregor, and so on and so on.
and it was
It was
submitted.
adopted. It had 3 or 4 public hearings. It only included what was in the trustees' jurisdiction to take an action upon. A lot was eliminated, studies of things that really didn't have a bearing on what was going on in your farm. It needed to get back to the grassroots of how we opened it. We provided them the document a long time ago. They told us then, just give us this and we'll give you the permit, and they didn't. Your problem is that there's a threat of litigation from the folks that you know that are keeping pressure on the trustees. And you may have forgotten, but the town of Southampton Environment Division issued a letter 5 minutes after we adopted that plan, contradicting its plan, sending mixed messages to every regulatory authority, which was not helpful since the record was never set straight. So you had the head of the DEC leave, you had many of the experienced people leave, you have the threat of pending litigation and a mixed message letter sent on town letterhead. And that's why we have no permit. And that's why we're suffering. And quite frankly, we're as upset as you are because we own all the shellfish there and hold it in trust for the people. And it's all in risk now. Okay. So we may have to take some form of legal action to remedy this, but I don't think it's appropriate to hold this board entirely accountable because, as Trustee Pell said, we've done everything these people have asked us to do. They keep moving the goalposts.
Do you remember the
Well,
meeting? Go ahead, Jennifer.
I just wanted to show you what was going on here. I didn't think it would really make a difference, but that's all I need to say. I don't need to take up any more time. You've got plenty of other things to do, so you can end this conversation here. I just wanted to show you what was going on here.
Appreciate that. That's very helpful. If you could send that to the DEC and CC us, since our attorney Sean Cambridge is telling us that we're going to have to make another formal request, and on a legal basis, I believe his opinion is that we can't take an action until we receive that emergency authorization. Is that true or not true, Sean?
You are the board. I'm advising that you should have authorization from the regulatory authorities, including New York State DEC and the U.S. Army Corps. As soon as you apply for those things, we can follow up on them and go from there.
I would say this has to happen immediately. Action has to be taken immediately. And I'm going to tell you that I think we need to draw the line on this because enough is enough. I've been told that your permit will be here any minute. Okay. It's not true. Okay. It's not true and it's not acceptable. Whatever action it is that we have to take to remedy this situation, even if it's legal, it's got to happen because this is not acceptable. That's it.
Is there anyone else? Jennifer, did you want to say anything else?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there
Thanks,
anyone else that wants to speak during public portion?
I see no other hands.
Thanks, Charles.
Let's move on to applications for permits. I guess I'll do Eric's. Eric did not jump back on. So we have trustee resolution. It's trustee resolution ID 38488. Application to John and Lauren Keogh, 29 Fisk Avenue, West Hampton Beach. Body of water is Mauritius Bay. The 29 Fisk Avenue, West Hampton Beach, Suffolk County Tax Map 0905-9-2-32. This is an application that Trustee Schultz has vetted at work session that he's looking for approval on.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Got trustee resolution ID 38453. Application of More Realty Management LLC, 44 Club Lane, Remsenburg, New York. Tax map 900-380-2-71. It's another application that is on vetted at work session, meets Blue Book. He's looking for a approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee resolution ID 38444. It's a third renewal for Kenneth and Randy Grenier, permit FXD 00048. I recommend its renewal.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A trustee resolution ID 38455, 33 Ogden Lane, Village of Quogue, tax map 902-14-1-44. Project meets Blue Book specifications at this point, looking for an approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I got trustee Warner, you're up.
He doesn't have anything.
No, it's
Nothing. Trustee
Billy's.
Pell.
Trustee resolution ID 38450. Application is the Ann V. Fisher Revenue Trust, 15 Norton Place, North Sea, body of water, Davis Creek. This is a small dock, access to the water. Looking for a second on this.
Second on that one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Welker.
Trustee resolution 38463, modification of Alvina Couch, trustee, 81 Harbor Drive, Noyak, New York. 900-9-3-40 is the Suffolk County tax map, body of water, Sag Harbor Cove. This is a pier line. This is a catwalk in Sag Harbor Cove. I'd like to recommend its approval.
Second on that one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Trustee resolution ID number 38462. This application of Blue Turtles Inc., 281 Daniels Lane, Village of Sagaponack, Suffolk County tax map 908-9-2-56, body of water, Atlantic Ocean. This is an application to install sand fencing. I'd like to recommend its approval.
Second.
In favor?
Aye. Trustee resolution 38457, application Northampton Colony Yacht Club, 14 Noyak Bay Avenue, Noyak, New York, Suffolk County tax map 900-4-3-23.1, body of water, Mill Creek. This is for a small marina within a residential homeowners association to reconfigure their dock and add 2 additional slips. I'd like to recommend its approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we got the resolutions.
Greg.
Trustee resolution 2021-176. It was a home rule message required for our tax line. I'm going to table this. This is just not the environment to be working on this, so I'm going to table that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next one's mine, trustee resolution 2021-226. I'd like to table this as well, which means that it'll go back on for the next meeting, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, recommended to go back on for the next meeting.
We got to
Okay.
work on that one, Ann.
Yep, I'd like to recommend that it go back on for the next meeting then, please.
I'll second that one.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Here, budget finance, got trustee ID 38494. It's warrant number 17 of 2021. I'll give you a breakdown. It's the law offices of Con and Con, $8,415. Coastal commercial property, 2,400. Safe Harbor Publications, 9621. Precision Micro Products, 510. Riverhead Building Supply, $812.70. Staples Contracts, office supplies, $41.28 for a grand total of $12,275.19. I recommend we pay our bills.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, Scott, one quick thing on Con. What was that time period for?
I don't have that in front of me, Bill, so I'll have to get
Okay.
you the backup documentation for that, but it was vetted
All right.
by everybody, but I can get you that.
Yeah, I like to see what it would, exactly what he charges for. I think we all should see that.
Yeah, I mean, we had, there's been a lot of activity lately. Obviously, we
Yeah.
had big meetings and there's been a lot of activity.
Yeah.
Trustee resolution ID 38491.
We have to wait with this, right? This was what we were going to
No.
be discussing.
No,
No,
I
this
think
is
this,
from
I
last
think
work
this one was from last meeting.
Oh, sorry.
These were from last meetings. These were already, I think, vetted by the board. I
Great.
think they've already met the approval of the Bay Constable.
Sorry, I just looked at the names. My apologies.
Yeah, these are waterfowl transfer of permittee, and they've already been vetted by the Bay Constables. So I would motion that we pass ID 38491.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Then we've got trustee resolution ID 38456. This is something that Eric was working on. It is some tree work that has to be done in an area not to exceed $2,500. Clovergrass, West Hampton.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Trustee resolution ID 38467 is the setting of a public hearing so that we can have our set our budget. And I would like to set that public hearing for October 8th, 2021. And if anybody has any changes or ideas, as I said earlier today, to get to me. So I would like to set that for
October
18th, 2021 at 1 o'clock.
And have you distributed? Have you
Not
distributed?
yet, because I'm still waiting for your input before I distribute, because we're in the process of still making changes. And that's why I asked you earlier today to get a hold of me with what your thoughts were so that we could make the adjustments to accommodate what the thought process was for each of the trustees. See if we can make it all work with what you had on your minds, and then we'll make the distribution. So that way everybody has input. It's a collaboration of teamwork, okay? So that's why I said earlier, just get to me with your thoughts. All right? So I put the motion on the table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. We need to walk on a resolution, please.
Yes,
in order
please do,
to-
Ann.
Yep. we need
Motion to walk it on.
I'd like to make a motion to walk on the resolution to authorize the emergency dredging of Mecox Bay in order to
second.
decrease the water level.
I'll second the walk on.
Thank you. All in favor?
Well, no, we have to, that was to walk it on, right? All in favor? Aye. And now the resolution in.
Okay. I'd like to use, should I read it in?
Sure.
Or- Okay, the one thing I'd like to change, I'd like to use trustee resolution 2021, Sean, -232 and work from that. But the one thing I'd like to change is, if everyone is agreeable, opening the inlet from a time period from today, October 4th. And are we good with, when would you like to put a closure on this?
I would take it to the end of the year.
Ed, are you okay with that?
I guess, I don't know, this is a tough one.
I would take it to the end of the year. This way we don't encumber ourselves.
We're still working on the same emergency as before. It's not a new one, and that's what I stated. In the future, any new one, so I would not be in favor of that. So let's do it to the end of the year and see how this all goes.
I think that is what makes the most sense.
I
Sean,
know it
did you?
does, but it aggravates me. We have to ask the DEC for something that, because of their inability to get it to us, I have to watch Jennifer Dupree run around her whole entire farm down there that's underwater that we would have had open a month ago if we were in charge with our 10-year permit. This totally aggravates me because we are handcuffed and then we get beat up by our constituents because of it. It's not right.
If I may, this resolution is to document this board's action. This is not asking the DEC for anything.
Oh,
This
I know it is. I realize it,
authorizes
Sean.
your contractor to physically do the opening. That's what Trustee Welper is proposing right now. And I'd ask that you read in the exact language she'd like, and then you can vote on it accordingly.
Okay, I just want to check one thing. James, is
Yeah.
there anything other than the date that needs to be amended in this resolution, the one I'm drawing from,
I think
that you saw?
I think that one sentence about already having the emergency authorization is just whatever language you guys decide on putting in there, whether it's working off of the other resolution or off of the other emergency authorization, or just because you guys want it open, whatever you as a board want to say in that sentence, essentially.
Okay,
Because the last resolution, you had an emergency authorization, so that's why that language is in there.
so Sean, what do you recommend in that third paragraph?
I'd recommend you insert language stating that you're approving the trustees board to obtain all necessary authorizations from applicable regulatory organizations.
Is everybody okay with that? Okay, so like to enter this resolution into the record to authorize the emergency dredging of Mecox Bay in order to decrease the water level. Whereas the Board of Trustees are owners of the land commonly known as Mecox Bay, whereas the trustees desire to dredge Mecox Bay to decrease the water level, whereas the trustees will obtain authorization from all necessary entities in order to dredge Mecox Bay. That's sufficient, right, Sean?
Sean, you keep disappearing.
Sounds good.
Cool. Whereas the laws of New York in 1892 and 1907 provide the trustees with the authority to dredge an inlet from the ocean into Mecox Bay as necessary, whereas Chesterfield's Associates Inc. holds a current contract with Suffolk County for dredging, whereas when goods procured from a valid state or county or legal applicable federal and cooperative entities, a contract exceeding the mandatory bidding threshold, i.e. $20,000 of goods, a resolution authorizing the purchase must be submitted and approved. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorize Chesterfield Associates Inc. to dredge an inlet from the ocean to Mecox Bay anytime during the time period of October 4th, 2021, up to and including December 31st, 2021, under the direction of the trustees in order to decrease the water level of Mecox Bay. I'd like to recommend the approval of this resolution.
Second.
Can we have a
All in favor?
roll? Can we have a roll call?
Sure. Trustee Horowitz? Aye. Trustee Warner?
I will say yes, but it's really hard.
Trustee Pell?
I just want to reinforce what Ed's thinking and what he's saying. It's kind of hard for me to do the same thing, say yes for this. I always believe that home rule is the best rule, and I really don't think we need a DEC permit or permission from the DEC to do this, what we want to do. We get all the heat from the people. It should have been open a month and a half ago. This should have never been 5-6 years, and it's taken place, and we're still waiting. We still have. a lot
No,
of
I
headaches.
agree. I agree with you all. And
So, yes,
okay, so trustee Welker.
Yes.
Okay, so, nobody's happy about it, but unanimously, the motion does carry and the board can take its action. But I will tell you all, today is the day. I think it's a watershed moment, as President Schultz would say on several issues here. You got to draw the line. It's too much. The permit is not forthcoming in minutes. How long have you heard that? How many times have you heard that?
It will be lucky if it's here by our next election cycle. We were lied to at that meeting 5 years ago. They promised us, there's 30 people in that meeting. They promised us we would have the permit in hand before we adopted the Mecox management plan.
Yes, they
They
did.
lied to us.
You know what? Waiting for the meeting, and we're going to have to call people out on it, because a lot of people have promised us a lot of things and they've told us a lot of things and they've done nothing.
Yeah.
And this board has done everything in its power to accommodate professionally what is needed. We followed every rule, every regulation, dotted every I, every T, and followed their protocols of their emergency authorizations.
It's physically affecting the environment. It's physically affecting people's business. It's physically affecting people's quality of life.
And
This
it's
is
wrong.
unacceptable.
This is, and you know what's ruining this? It's the lawyers. Okay, sorry, but they're trying to hold us as absolute in a not absolute world. Okay, it's Mother Nature. We are battling Mother Nature. You're battling North Atlantic Ocean. You understand? You can't command nature. You have to obey her sometimes. She's not going to let you do what you want to do. And you've seen that in evidence of failed closures. And these folks that are driving the bus are not batting anywhere near an average that's close to being acceptable. They're causing more problem than they are solution. It is not this board. Sorry, it is not this board. And it has to stop. And I think that based on the fact that we own millions and millions of oysters and steamers,
just listen.
we're going to have to do what we have to do.
All right.
Okay, that being said, we have an executive session for the purposes of personnel and litigation that we have to attend to. So quite frankly, I think since this is all done, if nobody has anything else to add, I think we should adjourn this general session. And I think we should commence with an executive session as discussed at 4:45.
All right. I'll
Sean,
Okay,
second
so
is-
is there,
Sean, is that workable for you?
Yep, I'll be there.
Joe?
okay,
It's good for me. I'll see you at 4:45.
so there's a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, meeting closed. We'll reconvene executive. Have a nice day.
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone. Thanks,
Yep.
Charles, James, Sean.